In only 12 days, the show pulled in 36 million views worldwide. So, obviously, we need to talk about what makes it hit this hard. Let's get into it. The show is based on the best selling book series called Off Campus by L. Kennedy. The spin off series are called Briar Rue and Campus Diaries, and the 14th book in the overall universe is releasing this November. Why is this important? We'll get there. Starting with episode 1, we are introduced to Garrett and Hannah. Hannah is cleaning the arena while Garrett is on the ice practicing alone. Immediately, this show brings back that early 2000s sitcom energy that modern shows are missing so badly, especially with that split screen editing. It feels nostalgic in the best way possible. Their meet cute doesn't happen like this in the books, but for visual adaptation, having them exist in each other's orbit before officially meeting honestly works so much better. They both are listening to the same song while doing their own thing, which subtly overlaps their interests before they even know each other. Garrett practicing alone instantly makes you wonder why, and throughout the episode, we slowly realize he's under insane pressure to become better than his hockey legend father. After practice, when he takes off his jersey and stares the last name his last name on it, it immediately felt so familiar to me, and I was reminded of the scene in One Tree Hill when Lucas ripped his last name off his jersey. The tattoo on Garrett's back literally means no free lunches, and it gels with his I want to earn everything that I do rather than it being handed to me attitude. Now, Hannah wearing AirPods Max, I'm sorry, but that makes zero sense to me because in the books, her family is struggling financially, and the show hasn't changed that either. Also, quick disclaimer about the nudity in the show because the internet is acting so confused for some reason. This is not a YA young adult show, this is 18 plus. The books were never YA either, and somehow that's the biggest misconception online. This is the only time I'm addressing it throughout the series, but yeah, there are definitely some jump scares while watching because the show is very open. Then we move to the classroom, aka the jock class, as Dexter, Hannah's friend, calls it. I literally had to Google what it meant, and apparently, it's a class for athletes to take so that they can continue playing their sports while earning the credits, which then makes both credit comment make sense. Now, if you haven't read the books, I am warning you, I am going to be spoiling everything because the amount of screen time Bo is getting is honestly so cruel, absolutely cruel. They're making people attached to him, and in the books, he barely interacts with anyone except for Dean. So we meet Bo Maxwell sitting beside Garrett in the Briar U football hoodie, along with Dexter and Hannah sitting ahead of them. Then Hannah absolutely aces the test that most of the class failed, officially setting the story in motion, which gives us Garrett peeking at her paper and delivering the most iconic line.
What? Only you get to look at things you shouldn't?
Calling back to the first time they met in the locker room. The entire interaction is gold. Destin being changed from a football player to musician honestly makes sense to me. It fits Hannah way better for her to like someone involved in the arts instead of another version of Garrett and his friends. And Ali is pure perfection. Then we get Garrett calling Hannah Mona because he doesn't know her name yet. In the books, that guessing game goes on for a while. The pop showcase is introduced soon after, except now Hannah is doing a solo instead of dealing with Cass Donovan. And honestly, I don't mind that change at all because Cass was unbearable, though there is a cameo of Cass in the season 1. Then we finally meet the boys, Logan, Tucker, and my personal favorite, Dean. The casting department absolutely cooked with Stephen Kalin as Dean. Logan gives young Milo Ventimiglia mixed with Evan Jogia vibes, and Tucker is just a sweetheart. When Garrett finally shows up at the house, the boys' chemistry immediately stands out. They tease each other naturally. It feels authentic, lived in, and believable. Garrett slapping Dean's hand while Dean is making out with a girl. is very much Dean coded. Also, Garrett complimenting Tucker's cooking only for it to instantly dissolve into teasing because Tucker tells everyone to stay away from the dippables for the party it's incredible. And Tucker getting annoyed because Dean keeps making out with the girl on the kitchen counter as he is cooking gives us this iconic line.
Dean, dude, can't you see I'm cooking, man? Same, bro.
It cracks me up anytime I see it on reels or anything. I love them so much. The chemistry between the boys is amazing. The show repeatedly emphasizes Garrett's specific music taste, which works so well once we learn his mother used to play him music loudly so he wouldn't hear his parents fighting. Music becomes comfort for him, a safety, like more like an escape. Then we get this parallel sequence between Garrett and Hannah's routines. Hannah struggles to write the song for the showcase while Garrett is busy hooking up with Kendall. And honestly, I liked Kendall in the show. The actress is so gorgeous. But more importantly, she's not written as one of those stereotypical mean girls. Garrett lets her down pretty directly, which I actually appreciate because I rather have someone be honest than manipulate me or lead me on. And I genuinely felt bad for her, but good for her for storming out of Garrett's room. Then we shift to Hannah and Ali working at Malone's while Hannah crushes on Justin. And I'm sorry, I do not get it. No hate to the actor because Josh Houston seems like a really cool guy and plays the role exactly how it's written. But Justin himself, what does she see in him? In this man, he's literally a douchebag. Also, the workout scene, thank you for your service. That's all I'm saying. Whoever wrote it, I'm sending my personal regards to you. But something I noticed was in the order which these boys arrived to work out. Garrett arrives first because the pressure to surpass his father is immense on his shoulders. Logan comes next because he desperately is chasing Garrett's level of success, then Tucker, and then finally Dean. Logan and Garrett's conversation about parental expectations hits even harder if you have read Logan's book because his father is an alcoholic in the books, and Logan's future was basically predetermined to take over the family business after graduation after his brother leaves it because he handled it while Logan was studying. I also noticed Hannah wearing a Rolling Stone t-shirt to symbolize her love for music while Allie wears a Vermont hoodie that Sean probably gave her. Tiny details like that matter. Hannah and Justin's first interaction is painfully awkward. She makes a dirty dancing reference. He doesn't get it. Meanwhile, in the background, you can see the hockey boys are surrounded by girls. And when that interaction between Justin and Hannah ends, Garrett immediately swoops in. Garrett understands the reference, calls it dated, and smoothly transitions back to asking her to tutor him. When Hannah says hockey is the only sport where violence is encouraged and she hates it, Belmont Kamali's micro expressions are so good because you can visibly see Garrett connecting that statement to his father's abuse. Like he's wondering if the sport reflects on him too. We also start getting vague flashbacks of a young Garrett, his mom crying, and his dad leaving the room. Listen, it's hard for me to hate Steve Harvey because I love him and High Potential, but the show is making Phil Graham somewhat nicer, and that felt flat to me because in the books he's an absolute dickhead. The boys interact with Phil normally because they don't know what Garrett's family life is actually like. Garrett mentions he's a junior, that makes Dean a senior. And when Phil completely ignores Garrett becoming a captain by being condescending, you can literally see Garrett spiral because despite everything, he still desperately wants that validation from his father. And Phil casually announces his marrying Cindy, who is a longtime girlfriend of his, which completely ruins Garrett's mood and affects his performance on ice. Also, when the rink is shown, you can spot the Malone's banner alongside Feroz, which is Logan and Grace's first date spot in the books. And along with that, there is a banner for Java Den, which I'm pretty sure is the coffee hut from the books too. Then comes one of my favorite sequences. It starts out pretty dark that Hannah is working at the arena when she sees her assaulter who is cheering for the opposing team, triggering her PTSD. She runs and hides in the green room, puts on Elton John's The Bitch Is Back, and please, I need Ella Bright's version immediately. She sings amazingly. Meanwhile, Garrett is in the tunnels trying to cool off after being benched, and he hears her singing. He follows her voice through the tunnels and watches her dance completely carefree, and the smile on his face. Again, the music becomes the connection between them. For Hannah, it's already her safe space, though now heavily tied to her trauma. For Garrett, music reminds him of his mother. And while watching Hannah sing and dance, something clicks for him. It is very parallel to One Tree Hill when Nathan focuses on his opponent and makes the shot. Same energy here. Garrett visualizes Hannah before scoring the winning goal. The Briarview Hawks win the game. Garrett looks to the stands for his father's approval, and Phil Graham gives him a nod. That's it. Which is painfully accurate in the books because Garrett mentions Phil only acknowledges him through a nod when he performs well, nothing more. Then we switch to Hannah and Allie's dorm, where Allie convinces Hannah to attend the block party, and we finally meet Sean. Sean is genuinely one of the driest men alive. The actor does an excellent job on making us dislike him. At the party, Sean pressures Hannah, not pressures, but like says liquid courage to Hannah. Ali quickly shuts it down by mentioning Hannah's friend got roofied once. What's heartbreaking is that they don't realize it was actually Hannah. The show doesn't outright say it like the books do. It's never implied because Hannah thinks nobody knows, and in the books it's the same, nobody knows. But in the show, we'll get there. While everyone's dancing, Garrett is literally stalking Hannah on Instagram because the man still doesn't know her name. He is checking the Malone's page to find her ID, or maybe a photo of her might have been posted when Logan catches him. And Logan's reaction is so interesting because he's so genuinely confused about how Garrett never noticed Hannah when she literally served them 17,000 times, is what he says. The show is very clearly setting up Logan's crush on Hannah that he never acted upon, and Garrett's sudden interest visibly makes Logan uncomfortable. From Logan's perspective, Garrett has everything: fame, money, talent, the perfect family image, while Logan's struggling financially and emotionally. The boys don't know Garrett's reality yet. Garrett finally finds Hannah's Instagram and listens to one of her music covers. Meanwhile, Hannah finally gathers the courage to talk to Justin, only for someone to spill beer all over her white t shirt. And Justin, standing right there, doesn't walk toward her, doesn't help her, doesn't even offer his leather jacket. Again, what does she see in him? In this stone of a man? The awkwardness of Hannah fumbling through that interaction is painfully relatable, though. It genuinely feels like every embarrassing crush interaction you have ever had combined into that one scene. And then Garrett steps in. The man is 15 feet away and somehow appears instantly. It's the first time he calls her Wellesley.
But mostly pop, though, and
Wellesley.
classical.
Garrett?
Babe, I am always telling you to wear your jacket. You never do.
My heart couldn't take it. Without hesitation, he removes his varsity jacket and drapes it around her. That spikes Justin's attention, which, by the way, is such a loser move from Justin. Like, you had your chance, buddy. Also, Allie's reaction in the background when Garrett steps in is hilarious.
Oh, no! What?
Then Garrett and Hannah come to talking, and he opens up in a way he never does to anyone. Earlier with Kendall, he explicitly said that they don't know each other and he didn't have time for emotional attachment. But with Hannah, he immediately opens up and starts talking about his mother, her love for music, how hockey was chosen for him by his father, and he doesn't even know who he'd be without it. He explains why he wants to earn things himself and why passing the class matters to him so much. Then this man casually drops a dirty dancing reference again.
This is my dance space. This is your dance space. I don't go into yours. You don't come into mine.
You've seen Dirty Dancing.
That's my mom's favorite movie. Still a dated reference, though.
Oh,
Hannah's surprised, just like all of us, before calling it dated again, circling back to their earlier conversation at Malone's. Then Garrett proposes the deal. He'll pay for Hannah's tutoring while also helping her get Justin's attention. And then he says,
Hey, this is why this is perfect. You're not interested in me, and I'm not interested in a relationship.
notice how he never says he's not interested in her. The man was down bad from the second he saw her. He knew exactly what he was doing. Hannah realizes Justin is suddenly paying attention to her while she's with Garrett, and the episode ends with them officially making the deal,
deal.
which is also the title of the book and the episode.